From the studios of Staten Island Community Television, you're watching In the Bleachers, the TV show for the world's most passionate sports fans. And hello, everyone. I'm the original New Year baby, also known as Jamie Hickson. As you could probably tell, Hector Boza again is not in the studio. Hopefully, he can call into the studio sometime within the hour. So in the meantime, we're going to be talking about a whole lot of business that's going on in the sports world, including some stuff that's literally happening as we speak. So in the meantime, we're going to let you know that in case you've missed past episodes of ours, you can check them out on YouTube and Facebook through our In the Bleachers page and also my personal page. And also check them out on Twitter as well. And if you have a story or anything that's going on in sports here on Staten Island that you want us to know about, then we want for you to tell us about it. So contact us through all of those avenues, and we would love to share your story. Now, as we know, the football playoffs began over the weekend. And tonight, we've got the national championship of college football taking place between Alabama and Clemson. This is the third meeting in the last 4 years for the national title between these two schools. And this is the fourth consecutive meeting overall, as Alabama has also met Clemson in the college football semifinals. When you think about it, wouldn't you want to see the same two teams play each other for the championship once again? I mean, these are two powers who have emerged as the dominant figures in college football. The only thing is, Alabama has won 2 out of the last 3 national titles. And this time, they have it all set up. They've already swept their way through the Southeastern Conference season, and now they're going up against the ACC champion, another team that basically has swept their way through conference play. You look at each of the teams as far as style of play and personnel is concerned. You've got a guy in Nick Saban, a real curmudgeon of a human being, but a brilliant defensive mind. And you also have Dabo Swinney for Clemson, rather. A guy who's a lot more laid back, a guy who really cares about his players. Not to say that Saban doesn't, because he really does, but he's a lot more of a disciplinarian and a lot more of a hands-on type of figure than Swinney is. But Swinney really cares about his players. He's very laid back. He's a lot more happy-go-lucky of an individual than Saban is, probably 10 times more so. And the ironic thing about this is Swinney was born and raised in Alabama, and he attended the University of Alabama. So you've got to think that these are some really mixed emotions for him going into this fourth consecutive meeting between the two schools. As far as what's been going on with the teams on the field this season, Clemson's had a little bit of drama going for themselves because of their quarterback situation. They had Kelly Bryant, but now with the emergence of Trevor Lawrence, who's a true freshman, a guy who's looked really good at times this season, Kelly Bryant decided to bail on his team, literally quit on his team at not even the midpoint of the season, and decided to transfer out in his senior season. So even though he's going to get his degree from Clemson, he's going to be headed elsewhere for next season. As far as Trevor Lawrence is concerned, Lawrence has got a lot going for him. He's a tall, skinny kid, but he's got a really, really good arm about him, and he seems to have a grasp of the offense. As far as Alabama is concerned, they probably have it really better at quarterback than Clemson has it now. Clemson's got a really bright future ahead of themselves with Lawrence. he's got at least another 2 years after this, maybe 3 if he plays his cards right. As far as Alabama is concerned, they've got the duo of Tua Tagovailoa and also Jalen Hurts, a kid who basically rescued them during the SEC title game against Georgia, and a kid who, for lack of a better word, is rolling with the punches here. And it seems like not only does Alabama have it really going on with their quarterback combo, they've got a lot of quickness at the receiver spot. They're just deadly defensively, especially on the front seven. So when you think about it, this is the fourth consecutive meeting between these two teams. I just think Alabama has got a little bit more firepower offensively than Clemson does. Tagovailoa has been getting the majority of the snaps for most of the season, and he has been completely superb this year. He's been really disciplined with the ball. He knows when to run with it and when to throw. More importantly, he's taking care of the football. I think he's only committed 2 or 3 interceptions for the entire season. So when you think about it, this is only his sophomore year. So next season, if he really plays his cards right, and he after the season that he had this year, he could play himself into being a first-round pick in 2020. And I'm going to tell you right now, he's going to look really, really good running somebody's offense down the road. In fact, I think he'll be better than the previous quarterback who was a first-round pick and came from the state of Hawaii, which is Marcus Mariota. Unfortunately, Mariota has shown some inconsistency in his time with the Titans. Still a young guy, though, so I think that there's room for him to grow. But Tagovailoa, he's really got it going on right now. He's got quickness. He's got smarts. He's really strong. He's got a real cannon for an arm, and he can also show some accuracy. So as far as this national title is concerned, I really do like Alabama to win the national title over Clemson, once again showing that they are the dominant figure in college football all throughout in the decade of the 2010s. Now, as far as the NFL is concerned, I just got word moments ago that the Green Bay Packers have decided to make the offensive coordinator for the Titans, Matt LaFleur, their new head coach. So the Packers already have their hire. They're going to do the press conference and all those other theatrics down the road. But the Packers do have their guy. Let's see what kind of philosophy that he brings to the Packers for next season. Now, as far as the weekend's games, though, none could have been any better than how that Eagles-Bears game wound up finishing yesterday. And the best part about it was not just the ending itself, but the aftermath of the ending. We all saw the field goal go a 1 and a 2 off the left post and the crossbar before falling into the end zone. But then there was the reality of the situation. Everybody was giving the kicker grief about missing that field goal yesterday. He even got booed very badly by the Bear fans in Soldier Field yesterday. And good for the Bears to back their teammate in the aftermath of yesterday's game. But as it turned out, there was some video footage that showed that the kick was deflected after all. So this doesn't really exonerate the kicker that much, but at the same time, you can't really blame the guy for butchering a field goal, especially when you consider, excuse me, that the play before, Doug Peterson wound up calling a timeout in the final 2 seconds of the play clock to try and freeze the kicker, and the kicker wound up making the field goal on the first try, but then it was the second try that wound up costing him. They have to change the rules over here. If a head coach on the that's playing defensively on special teams is going to try and call a timeout. They cannot wait until 2 or 1 second is remaining on the play clock to call a timeout. They have to call it just as soon as they line up for that field goal. That way, there's not going to be any controversy. And there was a lot of controversy that took place in yesterday's game. But, excuse me, lost in this whole thing was the fact that Nick Foles became a beast down the stretch once again. This is putting the Eagles in a really compromising position because they've got Carson Wentz, who they've made it clear they're going to use as the guy to be their quarterback down the stretch. But at the same time, ever since Wentz got hurt, Foles has been the man to take over, and he's just been sensational. He's been assertive on offense. He's made one big play after another. Again, he wound up getting the game-winning touchdown in yesterday's game. And it's going to set up a really juicy divisional round matchup with the Saints next weekend. As far as the other games were concerned, the other games were basically gravy because they were just postseason games. That first game was probably the single worst played game that any one team could have played in an opening round playoff game. And the Texans were woeful. And this is not to take anything away from the Colts because the Colts played masterfully defensively against Deshaun Watson. But Deshaun Watson showed that he has got a long way to go if he wants to try and win playoff games in this sport down the road. The Colts masterfully decided to rush against him. He was not prepared whatsoever. The whole Colts team had a wonderful game plan against them. The Texans had absolutely zero clue in how to manage the Colts defensively. They were totally unprepared for the schemes that the Colts had. The Colts wound up blitzing quite a bit against Watson. They also took away a lot of the running game that Watson brings to them in the game. And even though the score didn't really say much, the Colts really grabbed this game by the throat in the very beginning. And Andrew Luck once again showed that he is the guy when it comes to winning a big playoff game for the Colts. Ever since he took over for Peyton Manning, he has been the man over there. He's come up with one clutch play after another to try and get them closer and closer to that next level. And there was a time when we didn't think that we were ever going to see him play football again because of the many injuries that he's had in the 2015 and 2016 seasons. He missed all of last year. No one thought that he was ever going to play again. But after that 1-5 start, the Colts have shown how sizzling they've been on the field. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that Andrew Luck has just been superb on the field. He once again was assertive. He picked apart that Texans defense, which looked really, really vulnerable a couple of days ago. So now the Colts are going to have the Kansas City Chiefs in a matchup of two of the brightest young quarterbacks in the game, Andrew Luck and Patrick Mahomes. And you know that the fans of both of these teams are just salivating at the thought of their teams squaring off against each other next weekend. As far as the other game in the AFC playoffs, I think we just saw how ungrateful a fan base can be. Lamar Jackson looked putrid in his playoff debut of his rookie season. And the fans were so furious with him that they suddenly wanted to have Joe Flacco back. Joe Flacco played poorly during the regular season, so much that he wound up getting benched in favor of Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson took them to 5 straight wins just to put them in the playoffs. And all of a sudden, they turn on him in favor of Joe Flacco. That's not cool. Excuse me. I mean, did it look like Flacco was on his last legs during the regular season? Yeah. Did Lamar Jackson look clueless in his playoff debut? Yes. And it also did not help that he could not take care of the football. He had 4 fumbles in yesterday's game, 2 of which he wound up losing. And that was the biggest difference in the game. And the last of which took place during a potential game-winning drive, wound up costing them in this game. But I think we would be remiss if we did not mention the spectacular defense that the Chargers wound up playing against Lamar Jackson yesterday. They took away his running lanes. They took away the receivers that he wanted to throw to. Not only that, but Phillip Rivers dominated offensively, and so did Melvin Gordon at running back. The entire Chargers wound up playing superbly on each side of the ball. So now in the AFC, the Chargers are going to have the Patriots in the next round. That's going to make for an interesting matchup because you've got a Patriots team that always rises to the occasion in the playoffs, going up against a Chargers squad that I've said it over and over again, they just play more relaxed and comfortably on the road, especially when you consider that they're playing in a little bandbox like the Home Depot Center, a place that seats only 25,000. They have no fan base to speak of in L.A. Granted, the Chargers are going to be more relaxed and more at ease playing on the road. Dare I say that the Chargers might pull off an upset against the Patriots here? Draw your own conclusions. The final game of the first round was that Cowboys-Seahawks game. I thought that this had the chance to be the potential of being the best game played over the weekend. Turns out Eagles versus Bears was better. Seahawks versus Cowboys was pretty decent as well, especially you consider the 2 quarterbacks that were lining up against each other. But I think yesterday you saw a Cowboys squad that was just a little bit better, especially defensively, against the Seahawks. Don't let that final score fool you. The Cowboys showed a lot of quickness defensively against Russell Wilson. They really took away a lot of his running ability, if you will, and made him more of a thrower. They wound up rushing him constantly in this game. I think the pass rush that the Cowboys showed really bothered Wilson quite a bit. And even though they had one run in them, you got the feeling that the Seahawks were just going to come up a little bit short in this one. So now you have the NFC playoffs all set up. You've got Saints and Eagles next weekend and Rams-Cowboys next weekend. Of course, that Rams-Cowboys game is going to be played at the L.A. Coliseum. You can bet that there's going to be 100,000 fans showing up at the old L.A. Coliseum for this game, and I would think that half of those fans are going to be Cowboy fans. Now, what would happen if both the Rams and the Chargers were to win their respective games and go to the NFC Championship game, and maybe, just maybe, they each win their respective conference titles? Can you say Rams versus Chargers, LA Rams versus LA Chargers in the Super Bowl? Wouldn't that be something to see the Rams back in LA in their 3rd season of their 2nd tour of duty in LA, making it to the Super Bowl? Or what about this? How about the Eagles and the Cowboys winning their respective NFC divisional playoff games and meeting each other for the NFC Championship game? You think those Eagle fans would not want a piece of those Cowboy fans next weekend? It is going to get really ugly if those two were to win their respective games and go on to the conference championship game against each other. Now, as far as what else is going on in the NFL, since the season ended, since the regular season ended, this, of course, is the time where we talk about some of the latest coaching news in the NFL. Of course, the Jets wound up firing Todd Bowles, and rightfully so. So now they've already interviewed Mike McCarthy, which they had to do their due diligence in, because Mike McCarthy right now could be the best coaching prospect out there. And in spite of the fact that the Jets have other candidates that they want to look at, they've already interviewed Eric Bieniemy, who used to be a running back at the University of Colorado and then had a brief NFL career before going on to be a career assistant coach. Wouldn't it be something if the Jets were to interview, I don't know, say a guy like Bruce Arians, a guy who retired and spent the year calling games on television, but is still getting that itch to return to the sidelines. And let me tell you right now, Bruce Arians is a brilliant offensive mind. You look at what he did as the offensive coordinator of the Colts, and also as the offensive coordinator of the Cardinals. He made them a contender for a couple of years. I think it would be brilliant of the Jets to get Bruce Arians to be their head coach. The question is, would he even want the job? That's number one. Number two, can he win with that personnel? I don't think so. The Jets need a major upgrade at a lot of skill positions. They need an every down running back. They need two receivers that they can get the ball to. Sorry, but Robbie Anderson and Jermaine Kearse are not getting it done whatsoever. They need a number one receiver. Antonio Bryant, anyone. Now, as far as other coaching candidates, I just saw that Cliff Kingsbury, who used to be a quarterback with the Jets back in the day and also played at Texas Tech, most recently was the head coach at Texas Tech, and then got fired after a 5-7 season. He had been hired recently as USC's offensive coordinator. USC kind of blocked him from interviewing for any NFL jobs. Well, he wasn't too thrilled about that, and he is already calling for his contract to be bought out in the event that he wants to get himself an NFL job. So let's see what happens here. And, of course, I had also heard Kingsbury is going to interview for the Jets job. So let's see exactly what happens with that interview. They're going to be meeting this weekend, to be exact. So let's see how Kingsbury does in his interview as a potential Jets head coaching job. Of course, there are other jobs that have to be looked at around the NFL. The Packers already have their guy. Now, as far as what's going on elsewhere, Tampa Bay has an opening. Miami has an opening as well. Let's see what else is going on. The Browns, of course, have an opening. The Bengals have an opening as well. If I'm not mistaken, I think the Denver Broncos wound up having an opening as well. Plus, there's also Tampa, and there's also the Arizona Cardinals. So those are the jobs that currently have openings for a head coach. So let's see exactly what the Jets do to try and fill that opening of the head coach. I've already said that they need to get Mike McCarthy. It would be the I think that would be the defining moment in Mike Maccagnan's career as the Jets general manager, to be honest with you. So let's see. Let's see what time tells us down the road. As far as what's going on in basketball, right now, the Nets are supposed to be playing the Celtics up in Boston. Excuse me. Just recently, the Nets wound up winning in Chicago against the Bulls. The Nets have now won 12 of their last 15 games. They're exactly at the halfway mark of the season, and they're sporting a 20-21 record, which basically borders on mediocre. They have a ton of work to do to try and upgrade that roster. But what they have right now, especially with some of the young players that they have, these Nets are showing a lot of fight that is not being shown by that other team that's across the river right now. The team that is that will go unmentioned by yours truly. Unlike that team, which is owned by that guy, the Brooklyn Nets have shown a lot of fire, and more importantly, they're actually shooting the three-pointer better. Their overall perimeter game has gotten much better, and they're also getting it done in the post with guys like Jarrett Allen. And they're even using that rookie, Rodion Kurix, more in the rotation lately. In fact, you look at what the Nets did in last night's game against the Bulls, a team that, quite frankly, they should have beaten, and they did. D'Angelo Russell right now has emerged as their number one go-to guy, not just as a scorer, but as a point guard as well. Just yesterday, he wound up getting 28 points. And Jarrett Allen, the same Jarrett Allen who has blocked LeBron James and Joel Embiid and also Giannis Antetokounmpo. The latter two of which are the meanest guys you will ever step onto the court to play against. Jarrett Allen has shown that he is not intimidated by any player whatsoever. Of course, he's going to give you the same old when it comes to how he's playing the game. He's saying that he's just playing the game and that he's taking it one day at a time and all that other good stuff. But the bottom line is, he is slowly but surely emerging as a real boss on the front line for the Nets. Even guys that we didn't think would ever make any kind of contribution for any team, not just this year, but in years past or present or future, have been able to shine for the Nets. I mean, who saw Shabazz Napier make a contribution for them? And just yesterday, he wound up getting 18 points. And also DeMarre Carroll, a guy who's been a really steady player as a journeyman in his career, has wound up really making some solid contributions for them. Now, right now, the Nets are playing the Celtics, and actually they're going to be playing each other in just a moment. So they should be tipping off any moment now. And if I'm not mistaken, I think we got the sign from Kenny that Hector's on the line, isn't he? Well, unfortunately not. I guess he got so drunk as a skunk that he wound up falling asleep and accidentally hung up the telephone. But we're going to see if we can wake him up so we can try and get him on the phone once again. All right, let's try one more time. Are you there, Hector?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, go right ahead.
Sorry I missed it, but Happy New Year to one and all. This is still the hardest, baddest, sexiest man of them all. I am here to congratulate Jamie for how many years being on the show?
13.
13 years. Wow, lucky number 13. Besides lucky number 7, but 13 is better.
Well, actually, the number 13 is unlucky, but that's a story for another day.
For some people.
For some people, yeah.
For some people, yes. But so far, you've had, in basketball, 2 firings.
Yeah, Tom Thibodeau got fired by the Timberwolves. A lot of people were surprised by that because everybody thought that he was going to be the guy to turn things around in the land of 10,000 lakes.
And mind you, he was a GM too.
Yeah, the president of basketball operations. Now he's totally gone.
Now he's totally gone. And we were talking about how many coaches could be actually GMs and coaches at the same time.
Doc Rivers is doing the same thing in L.A.
Who?
Doc Rivers with the Clippers.
Does that really work, though? If you really...
It depends on the person.
Think about it, because you have Pat Riley. Well, Pat Riley, did he do it at one point? Yes, he did.
Did that with the Heat.
Yeah, as soon as he got LeBron, and he fired the other guy, Van Gundy.
Yeah.
And then he brought that other guy. But you have a very interesting thing. Do you think that's an actual good trend to have? Or do you think there should be 2 people?
1 or 2 people as front office bosses, you mean?
No, one should be coach and one should be GM, because remember, the GM also crunches the numbers too. The GM has to crunch the numbers to see if you have a salary cap.
If you look at how other teams operate, they would much rather go with a head coach on the sidelines and a general manager upstairs.
Right. And then you have some teams interested in Enes Kanter. Why? Because of his offensive skills.
Yeah, Mr. Future WWE superstar.
Yeah, I actually seen the clip of where he actually picked up, I forgot the guy's name, but he has lost about 200 something matches so far.
Yeah.
And he actually picked him up with one hand and chokeslammed him, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
But you have Enes Kanter actually, and people are interested in Enes Kanter.
I can believe that. The reason why is because he brings a ton of offensive rebounding to the floor, and he also brings hustle, and he also brings something that a lot of the other Knicks players don't have, and that's a mean streak.
And also, he brings an inside game that a lot of people don't
Does not
have.
bring any defense whatsoever, but offensively...
I said the inside game.
I know, I understand that, but he doesn't bring any defense whatsoever.
He blocked a shot. He blocked one shot already.
Blocked shots do not make for a good defensive player. You have to guard the interior. You have to guard on the help. You have to guard on the post. You have to guard on the perimeter. You have to be everywhere in order to get your guy, and try and.
Yes.
That's what made Dennis Rodman such a great defensive player back in the day.
And his offensive skills, Dennis Rodman's offensive skills weren't that bad either. He actually scored, but he was more as a defensive stopper.
Yeah, that's right.
But people looking, it's funny, there's a couple of teams that are interested in Frank Ntilikina, Lance Thomas for a defensive stopper. The one thing is with the Knicks in general, who's going to stay and who's going to leave next year?
Well,
Who's going to stay and who's going to leave? Because a lot of them have 1-year contracts, and they're trying to get rid of.
as far as who's going to stay and who's going to go, those Frank Ntilikina rumors, it would be like admitting that they made a mistake in drafting that guy 2 years ago. That's number one. As far as Lance Thomas is concerned, his defense is one thing, but his offensive game has taken such a nosedive in the last 4 years. I don't know who he could possibly help.
He's a defensive specialist.
When the stretch run starts around March or April or so. I know he's a defensive specialist, but what is he going to bring to them offensively?
Specialist.
What will he bring to them offensively?
He'll
Nothing.
I'm sure he'll go on another team. It's like having Enes Kanter. You're saying he
Those
can't
are two different players, man. You're comparing apples and oranges.
You're saying that he can't play defense, but he can supply the offense. And then
That's exactly what I'm saying.
And Dennis Rodman, who gave you the defense, but he was very good at offensively, but they never used him as an offensive weapon. But he could score.
And I'm going to tell you right now, if Enes Kanter gets traded someplace, he's going to hurt them defensively. I can feel it.
And unless he goes to a team that can compensate for him, and he does what little defense he can play, that's the thing you have to consider. That whatever team is around him, it's like in baseball. The weakest player normally hits ninth or eighth.
And pray tell, what team do you know of that is actually interested in Enes Kanter for a stretch run?
The article that I read, there was about 3 teams so far. They didn't say which. And there was a lot of people. There was a lot of interest in Frank Ntilikina. There was a lot of interest in Lance Thomas, but they never mentioned any names at the moment. But there was a lot of teams interested, and I can understand why. But that being said, you have a lot of teams you have a lot of players from the Knicks next year that will not be on the team because they have their contract ends this year, and also they're trying to get rid of Lance Thomas, THJ.
Yeah, well, good luck with that, because there is no team in their right mind that's going to want to take on that contract.
They're trying to get rid of Enes Kanter, and they're trying to get rid of Lance Thomas and the other guy. I forgot the other guy's name.
I know. You've already told us 2 or 3 times already.
Not Thomas. I forgot the other guy's name. He's over 30. Because Lance Thomas and the other guy that I can't remember, they're 33. Kanter's 25 and THJ is 25. So they're trying to get rid of his contract. So they're trying to get rid of those guys. Other than that, Henzo, his contract ends next year. Like I said, there's a lot of people, contract ends next year. Who will they keep? Who will they get rid of? That team's going to look totally different next year, depending upon what happens next year.
Well, I can start this right now. If they have any basketball sense, they get rid of Lance Thomas. He's an offensive liability that will do nothing for them. They got to get rid of Courtney Lee. As influential he is as he is in the locker room, his game has declined woefully. They also have to get rid of Tim Hardaway Jr. All that money for a guy who runs so hot and cold in games that we don't know who is going to show up. The Tim Hardaway Jr. that can score 25 to 30 points a game, or the Tim Hardaway Jr. that's going to score 10. You need consistency.
But you got to get rid of those guys. But you have to also get. There's a lot of other players that are going to leave next year that have 1-year contracts, and that's the other thing. That team is going to look so different next year, and that's one of the other problems that the Knicks always have. That every year there's always a new Knicks team, but at least they have a core that they can start dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
They have a decent core. They have a good, at least 3 or 4 players that they could actually play around to identify, just like the Brooklyn Nets. The Brooklyn Nets have a good core of at least 3 or 4 people that they can play and go, okay, these are the team. These are the players that we can keep, and then the rest can go. The rest can go.
I'll tell you one guy who's the most obvious for the Nets. Jared Allen. Jared Allen has been a complete boss in his second season. It's shocked. I'm stunned, quite frankly, that he would make such a contribution so quickly. He's only in his second year, and he's already in double figures scoring, and he's also not necessarily rebounding a ton, but he's getting enough that he could keep plays alive. And also shot blocking skills. He's doing at least 2 blocks a game. And he's already swatted away LeBron and Giannis Antetokounmpo and Joel Embiid, 2 of the meanest guys that you will ever run against on the court.
Well,
that's the one guy that they need to build around. Not build with, build around.
When it comes to blocking shots, I mean, that's what he's supposed to do. And when he does it, yeah, he blocked LeBron's shot. Okay, fine, but, he blocked them. Okay. But how is that so impressive and so big? I mean, that could probably turn around his game if maybe. That could be one of the most impressive moments for him in his career.
Well, he doesn't think that it's very impressive if you ask him. Because he's a rather mild-mannered kind of player. He never, ever talks a lot. He does his play do the talking.
But you have a lot of players on that team still, that about 3 or 4 players that you can build around as well, just like the Knicks. With the Nets as well, there's a lot of building that they have to do.
Speaking of building players with, is one of those guys D'Angelo Russell? Because I think it's a little coincidental that he's been coming on in his contract year and suddenly going on a scoring binge. Is D'Angelo Russell...
Always?
What's that?
Don't they always? When their contract...
Yeah, they always do that.
They normally have the best year of their lives.
Yeah, they always do. And the other guys that I would tell the Nets to try and build with, Rondae Hollis-Jefferson, Karis LeVert, who when he's healthy is a really dangerous shooter, and also probably, you still there, Hector? Hector, you still there? Hector, you still there? Uh-oh.
Yes.
Oh, here we go.
No, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here.
Because I heard clicking noises on your end.
No, I'm sorry. But
well, those are 3 guys that I can think of that the Nets can probably try and build with for the future.
For the future, so we have the future for both teams to look forward to see what happens with them. Because again, the Knicks and Nets, they're never the same. Every year, they're always different.
Yeah.
And they're hardly ever the same.
You know, it's funny that we talk about this because the Bleacher Report did a story about what would have happened if all of the teams could do their draft picks all over again.
Yeah, Trae Young.
Yeah,
Trae Young,
they said that the Knicks would get they said that if the Knicks had to do it all over again, they would get Trae Young. And they said that if the Nets had to do it all over again, they would have picked somebody else and not Rodion Kurix. But Rodion Kurix has played reasonably well for them. And let me tell you, Kevin Knox, for all of his deficiencies, has played okay at best. Trae Young is a fish out of water playing in Atlanta right now.
Well, right now, Kevin Knox has been one of the best rookies, one of the top 5 rookies in the league.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how you're saying he's playing okay. If you're one of the top,
his scoring average needs to be higher than that. And he's not doing it. He's not doing so well defensively, Hector.
Again, if he's one of the top 5 rookies in the league, he's doing something right.
I don't know. I don't see how he can be one of the top 5 rookies in the league, especially when you consider that a guy like Luka Doncic is just dominating right now.
He's taken for face value. He's one of the top rookies in the league.
I don't see it that way.
Old, and that's what the Bleacher Report stated. I'm only going by what I read. I'm not being opinionated and going, okay, well, I think, because then I would tell you, I think blah, 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 blah. I'm going by what I read. Okay? Because in December and January, he's having one of the hottest months of his life. And finally, he's turning it around. Again,
let's see what he could do over the course of an entire season, though.
There are some players that can step in. There are some players that can step in and make an impact. There are some players that are bust. And there are some players, it takes them at least 2 to 3 years to get their act together and then start to get their engine started. Is Kevin Knox one of those people that needs to get the engine started? Probably so. And will he become because he would have gone to Dallas Mavericks. And then they're saying in that same report that he would have made a big impact. He would have made a bigger impact than he is now. Scoring more, playing defensive more, and so on. But since you don't like his game, then you would say...
I just think that he would be a little bit better if he could be more of a defensive stopper.
He's a great player. But because he's with the Knicks, he's a bad player.
I hate when people do this, man.
They're a great player.
Just because he's on the Knicks doesn't make him a bad player. I'm just saying improve on your deficiencies.
Really?
Yes.
Of course.
I'm doing that.
That's what you should do. You should improve on your...
Just like I'm saying, Karis LeVert needs to take better care of himself physically because all he's done is miss time in the last 2 years. And just like I say, Trae Young needs to stop taking so many shots. The only reason why he is because he's got nobody to work with.
Well, again, the Knicks were ready to get Trae Young, but he lacked the size. And he coughed up the ball too much. Now, if he would have been with the Knicks and did terrible, you would have said, oh, that's a terrible choice.
No, I would not because
if he would have had...
I would have said that he was a good choice because he was a point guard. The Knicks need a point guard. He would have solved their problems momentarily.
He would be having... the year that he's having now with the Atlanta Hawks, which is not that good, you would have said, oh, they need a new guy. He stinks. He's this. He's that. It's the truth.
No, I would not. No, I would
not.
not.
You would have crapped all over him.
No, I would not.
But
I would have said the same thing if he wore a different uniform. I would have said that he has nobody to work with and that he's trying too hard.
That's another story to be ended because that'll never happen. But the point I'm trying to make is with those teams, they're never the same. And would Trae Young made a better impact player than Kevin Knox? I don't think so, because I don't think Trae Young's that good. But
he's only had a year, not even a year. He's had half the year. Not only that,
Really?
but he's got zero personnel to try and work with.
And if
Naturally, he's going to try and take it upon himself.
He is, then what does Kevin Knox have to work with?
What does Kevin Knox? At least he's got Enes Kanter to work with.
Really? And that's how much they're playing him. They're not playing him as much, if you notice.
They're not playing Kevin Knox as much or Enes Kanter as much?
No, they're not playing Enes Kanter as much. So how could you say he's playing with
That's because Enes
Kanter if he's not playing
is
with him
hurting them defensively.
Oh, okay, you're always finding holes, and I get that. But again, like I said, from what Trae Young is doing on the Hawks, I don't think he would have done any better with the Knicks.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda. We can't deal with semantics anymore. What's done is done. We got to keep on moving, man. What's done is done. The only thing they can do is just move ahead.
And they are. Like I said, they have at least 4 people that they can work with. And with the Nets, they have at least 4 people that they can work with. Hopefully they'll do better next year, and hope for the best and expect the worst. And then with, you have the Wolves, the Timberwolves getting rid of Tom Thibodeau. How is that going to affect the team?
That's a good question. I'm not really sure.
And with the Chicago Bulls making that trade,
well,
the Chicago Bulls making the trade.
Yeah, they actually made a couple of trades, but the most recent trade they made was getting Michael Carter Williams.
Good player. But again, the team that Michael Carter Williams was playing for dumping salary, because again, they're trying to make room. It must be a big class next year on people that are leaving.
Well, it
people that
depends on
which
underclassmen want to leave. And I just found out Michael Carter Williams just got released by the Bulls right after the trade.
And what position he's playing?
Michael Carter Williams is a guard.
He's a guard.
Yep.
Wow. And is he that bad?
No, it's not that he's that bad. He's actually a decent player. He's trying to hook up with a contender.
Which team do you think will get him?
Any team that's looking for a really good shooter right now. Don't be surprised if you see him either on the Spurs or maybe the Indiana Pacers, maybe the Warriors, maybe the Miami Heat, maybe the Orlando Magic. I think there's about 5 to 10 teams that might be showing interest in him right now.
But, yeah, hopefully he'll land somewhere. I mean, like I said, the Chicago Bulls are making trades, and other teams are dumping salary. I wonder why the Chicago Bulls made that trade, considering it doesn't dump their salary. I don't think.
It's painfully obvious that right now they want to try and do another facelift. And after drafting Wendell Carter Jr. and having a couple of other youngsters like Chris Dunn, who played at Providence, and also Cameron Payne of Michigan State, they're doing all they can to try and get back to respectability. But their drafting has been really, really suspect for the last 3 or 4 years.
And also you have, the Lakers aren't doing that well either.
Well, unfortunately, they've fallen back down to earth ever since LeBron got hurt. It's gotten to the point where LeBron basically is their franchise player right now. Yeah, not just the team, their franchise player. If he misses
And
any
that's
more
the
time, they're going to
thing.
go under 500.
Last year, they were much better without him.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened between last year and then when you get LeBron, and then you try to build?
He's still trying to
around
learn the
LeBron.
offense, though. He's still trying to get
Yeah,
to know the offense. He's still trying to get to know some of the personnel that's on the roster. So naturally, there's going to be
And he's
a bit of a slow
disrespecting the
start.
coach.
What's that?
He's disrespecting his own coach. I don't think the coach of the Lakers is going to be there.
Well, let's
Don't expect him to be there. Yeah,
let's
don't,
give
don't
them
expect him.
let's give them more than half the season to see if things will go as planned for them.
Because it seems LeBron, since it's LeBron's team, he's got to have his coach and his players around him, and you got to give him what he wants. If not, he starts being.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got next year is his walk year.
Yep.
Even though he signed for 5 years, but the third year, they're getting smarter. The players are getting smarter now.
Mm-hmm.
They signed for 5 years, but they can get out in 3.
Well, we have 3.5 minutes left. Let's quickly dive into baseball for a little bit. The new year is here, and the Mets had a really busy weekend. Not only did they make the trade, 2 trades with the Astros, they also made a big deal with the Cleveland Indians where they sent Kevin Plawecki away. And also the Yankees wound up getting Troy Tulowitzki as insurance, basically, in case they don't get Manny Machado.
I'll look at it like this. Have the Mets improved?
They definitely got younger. Now, whether they got better, I'm not really sure. I think they got more depth, both in the infield and the outfield. And also, they solved their logjam behind the plate because now that Kevin Plawecki has been sent to Cleveland, it can only be Travis d'Arnaud and the guy that they signed from the Phillies most recently as the two-headed combo at behind the plate.
Have the Yankees improved?
Technically, yes, because they were able to bring back Zach Britton to help them out in the bullpen, but I still think that they need more bullpen help, though.
Sure they do, and they got the guy that you didn't want to try out from the Toronto Blue Jays.
Troy Tulowitzki?
Yeah, they got him at a low cost. Again, it's not costing him nothing because they can replace him very quickly. That's why he's
all I'll say is he better stay healthy for at least half the season.
Like I said,
because if not, it'll be $500,000 that's practically given away for nothing.
You know what? Again, it all depends how you look at it. From a business standpoint of view, you're not taking too much of a chance with him because there's always a replacement right away, and $500,000 to get a player of that caliber that could actually help you out if he's healthy. That's a drop in the bucket.
Well,
that's the thing. But
it's officially over.
Have a good night, everybody. Take care. God bless all. Jamie, talk to you Monday.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. We'll see you next Monday night. Thanks to everybody for watching at home. Thanks to Kenny on the other side of the glass. For everyone here, I'm Jamie. Good night, everyone.